General Dwight Eisenhower writes a new book. At his Gettysburg office, the former president talks about the volume, covering his second eventful term in the White House.
General Eisenhower, how did you select the title, Waging Peace?
I thought that since the whole 8 years were dedicated so definitely, and then so much time was given to the effort to ensure peace and defend freedom, that we ought to have something that would indicate how much work was done in the foreign field. And Waging Peace was suggested somewhere along the line, and that's one that struck me, and so that we adopted it.
There's been lots of criticism of your action during the Suez Crisis. Could you comment?
We fought until every process of United Nations action had been tried and failed. Only then could any resort of force help to heal this problem or solve this problem that had been created. And but you will recall finally that the Soviets made some very definite threats of what they would do unless France and Britain got out of there right away. And then we told them that if they told them publicly that if they tried to do that, that we'd be on the side of our friends.
Well, it's been said that you acted in Suez, but then when the Hungarian Revolution took place, your critics have charged you with not acting.
How can you go into Hungary with any action whatsoever as long as you can't reach it through the sea or through some friendly territory where they will allow your troops and to go through, therefore collaborate with you? No European country or government was willing to take any real action against Hungary. The only thing then that we could do in the way of force would be to throw bombs on Moscow or Leningrad or Stalingrad or something of that kind. Now, this was palpably an absurd solution.
Sir, in your book, Waging Peace, you mentioned that some critics of Secretary of State Dulles called him sanctimonious and various other names. I know you don't agree.
He gave his whole life, when you come down to it, outside of his law practice, to the study of foreign relations. And he was so steeped in it, so really involved with every fiber of his being into trying to do something to bring order out of chaos in the world, that at times I think he must have been certainly short and possibly sound a little bit egotistical. If he would have been as likable as he was able, why, he'd have been really a tremendous personality.
In your book, one of the key chapters is on the famous U-2 incident.
Well, now, I just ask you this. Suppose I'd have denied any knowledge of this thing and therefore threw the blame successfully on somebody else, some subordinate. Now, the next time I met Mr. Khrushchev, what would he say to me? Why, he'd say, you know what's going on in your government. Well, he wasn't going to be in any such position as that. And besides that, I didn't believe that anybody should deny responsibility when, of course, I knew every step from its inception, from its building, from its first use, and so on. I had to. And to deny it, I think, would have made me something that I've always tried to keep from being, and that's a liar.
General, in the book Waging Peace, there are many personal anecdotes. Could you think of one offhand that might be of interest?
Well, I remember once we'd had a congressional session in which many of my proposals had been rejected by the opposition party, and of course they were in the majority. And I think I was expressed once in a while my unhappiness with some of these things. So when, as is customary, the majority leader of the Senate, who was then Senator Johnson, called me up and asked was any further business that I wanted to place before the Senate before they adjourned. And of course the answer to that was no, but he remarked, well, I guess you will not be sorry to see us go. I said, by no means. I said, you can go right away, it'll be fine with me.